tonight, the possible addition of Cal and Stanford to the conference hit significant roadblocks, sources told ESPN. No vote was taken, but conversations about expansion among the league presidents are expected to continue as they try to figure out the best way to position the league into the future. We've got Heather Dinich joining the party with Harry and Courtney. Heather, what are the roadblocks here?
Well, the roadblocks are that they can't all agree on it because it doesn't make financial or geographical sense to some people within that conference. I mean, the real push here, and one of the reasons why so many presidents and chancellors want this, is because it would make it more difficult for other teams to leave. Remember, this conversation is happening maybe a week and a half after Florida State's president unabashedly said publicly, give us more money or we're going to leave. We're talking about a group that studied adding Oregon and Washington and said, no, we're not going to do that. But now they're talking about Cal and Stanford. And Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick told me this morning, he confirmed that they are pushing for that because basically it's all about the Olympic sports, right? But also his point was the fact that they don't have a home speaks volumes about where college athletics is right now.
Okay, so we're 5 days away from that magic number of August 15th, the deadline that Florida State has to announce whether they're going to leave for the 2023 season. So Heather, what does this mean as far as, how does this impact what they might do? Because the clock's ticking and it seems like they are still very much on the path to say, hey, we might be exploring leaving here. I know they brought in JP Morgan Chase to explore adding some private equity. Where do you things stand with them?
I just don't see anything imminent happening with them leaving. A, because these other conversations are on the table, and B, because as we sit here right this skinny minute, they've got nowhere to go. We've seen SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey earlier this week saying, I'm not a recruiter. That we've talked to our presidents and chancellors, and as of right now, there's no one that we feel like we need to be reaching for. He did not say Florida State, but cough, cough, Florida State, right? So there's no invitation that I know of from the Big Ten. So there's nowhere to go. Do they want to be an independent? We cannot forget the legal ramifications of this. $120 million in an exit fee, plus the grant of rights, plus these conversations. There's too much going on right now, and in order for the ACC to add Cal and Stanford, they need 12 of 15 votes. And they're not there yet either. So these conversations are continuing. We'll see what happens, guys.
Yeah, I will say one thing, Heather. I think, having these conversations about Cal and Stanford, because you mentioned when it comes to the travel and the extra money it would spend for other sports to have to go out there and play to those two universities, I think it might upset Florida State a little bit. It might upset Clemson a little bit. Those are two schools that have been mentioned about potentially leaving the ACC conference. And I will say this to Greg Sankey. If Florida State is available, if they get through all their legal troubles, and also Clemson, I'm pretty sure he would welcome both of those schools with open arms.
Bring Miami, too. I think Christine would like that.
I would love that. As a former University of Miami athlete, I could not imagine going out to California to play Stanford and Cal. That would be a long trip.
Their furthest west member is your alma mater.
Yeah, Louisville.
That's crazy.
Okay, so we know that Clemson has absolutely dominated the ACC, winning 7 of the last 8 conference titles, but everyone is jumping on the FSU bandwagon. Heather, do you think that Clemson's best days are behind them?
I don't think they're behind them, but I say that with a caveat that I'm totally on the FSU bandwagon as well this year. But the reason you can't say Clemson's best days are behind them is because Dabo Swinney in the offseason made the necessary moves. They've got a new talented young quarterback in Cade Klubnik. They've got a new offensive coordinator in Garrett Riley. Lincoln Riley's brother, if anybody watched TCU's offense last year, and oh, by the way, they played for the national championship, they were pretty darn good with Max Duggan as their quarterback. So I think time will tell. Defensive line has always been good. They lost some guys. They should continue to be good up front. But I'm going with Florida State. I think Florida State is going to lose to Clemson in September during the regular season, but they're going to meet again in the ACC championship game, and then those are going to get it then.
Yeah, week 4 is going to be a lot of fun to watch those two teams, maybe foreshadow the ACC championship game. Look, Clemson is a terrific football team. The legacy, what they've established under Dabo Swinney is noted, but since they've lost momentum, they've lost steam since the last time they were in the CFP in 2020. They lost Tony Elliott as their offensive coordinator, and they really haven't been able to get back to that level of prominence. I agree on the defense here. That's the strength in what they do up front, but this is still a defense that gave up an average of 5 yards per play last season. Let's see them get back to the level of that generational defense that they had, and they lost 10 players to the transfer portal. I think my biggest issue in all of this is that Dabo Swinney does not like to use the transfer portal, and he likes to do things his way. I think that some players on the team value the loyalty aspect and all of that, and whatever you want to make of that is fine. But that has helped Florida State close the gap in the ACC to where preseason ACC favorites, you're going to find more people saying Florida State than you are Clemson. But I'm excited to see what Cade Klubnik can do now. I think it's kind of unfair if you're comparing quarterback versus quarterback. Jordan Travis has been in college longer than I've been alive. And I know there's some hyperbole in there, but he's been there for 6 years. And he had developed into a Heisman candidate last year. He's shown that he can be the true dual threat. So my money's on Florida State in all of this. I would like to see Clemson get back to the level of where we were talking about them in that same category as the Georgias and Alabamas, but they've been on a downward slide now for the last 3 years, and in the ACC, Florida State has taken advantage of that.
Yeah, for 2023, I'm picking the Florida State Seminoles to win the ACC conference, and I think mainly it's because of the quarterback position in Jordan Travis and what I know he is on top of building what he did a season ago when he made tremendous strides, right? Taking care of the football, the weapons that they got, utilizing that transfer portal with Keon Coleman from Michigan State, also Jaheim Bell, what they have defensively and what they can be, but if I'm asked, like the question says, are Clemson best days behind them? I'm going to say no. And I think it's because of the self-identification of Dabo, right? Understanding that the offensive side of the ball has been the downfall since Trevor Lawrence lost. But when I look at Clemson's defense, they have two of the best linebackers in the country. When I look at their defensive line with Xavier Thomas and Tyler Davis and Justin Moskal, those guys have to play like those national championship D-lines were playing. Also, I like Andrew Makuba, the safety in the secondary. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. So Clemson, I think they're going to be able to, contend and compete. But it's all about, Courtney, like you mentioned, that transfer portal. I don't think Dabo can be stubborn and not be up with the times when everyone else is utilizing it and it's benefiting a lot of other teams. When you can utilize it, but you have players leaving your program transferring to other places.
And when it comes to that skill position, Joseph Ngata is the only player that they lost last year from their wide receiver core. Even Dabo said, I think it was this week, that if they stay healthy, that group can help them score a lot of points. But that's a big if. Who's going to be the go-to guy for Cade Klubnik this year?
I like Antonio Williams, though.
Okay.
I like him. He's a
Mm-hmm.
sophomore now. He was a freshman. He stepped up a lot last year. But it's more so the growth of Cade Klubnik, right? How can he grow and how he mixes with Garrett Riley in that system in which he had Max Duggan looking like a, world beater.
I'm sitting here laughing to myself because I love that we're talking about how Clemson has slid in the last 3 years when they've won the ACC and absolutely dominated, as I've mentioned. I do want to make a reminder that the ACC is no longer in division, so the top two teams will play for the ACC championship, which is why Florida State could play Clemson twice this season. But Heather, I want to ask you this about FSU. Do you think that they could crash the CFP party?
I do, and it's because of exactly what you said, without divisions, because Florida State and Clemson aren't going to eliminate each other from that conversation. Plus, Florida State opens with LSU. I'm going to go with the Noles in that game. And if Florida State beats LSU and LSU goes on to win the SEC West, that is one heck of a CFP resume for the selection committee to consider on Selection Day. So even if they lose to Clemson, if they make that up with an ACC title, and then the flip side is true. If they beat Clemson but lose a close game in the ACC championship game but still have a win against LSU, that all works in their favor on Selection Day. But of course, it's so hard to answer that question without knowing what happens to USC, Ohio State, Michigan, those other Power 5 conferences, Texas. I mean, this is going to be a fun season, guys. And you know what? Embrace it, because it will never look the same again with the Pac-12, the Big 12. The list goes on.
And I agree with Heather. I think that Florida State does have an opportunity, but I think three things need to happen. They need to get over that dark cloud in which they haven't beaten Clemson in a very long time.
Right.
And some of the things that has happened the last 2 years in that matchup, turnovers, not being able to convert on third downs, not being able to stop the run. Florida State, in their 3 losses last year, they allowed about 173 yards per game on the ground. If they want a chance to contend for the ACC championship and also make the college football playoffs, they have to stop the run better in 2023.
All right, let's talk a little SEC football. Georgia football is the first team to win back-to-back championships since Bama did it in 2011-12. Kirby Smart's team is obviously absolutely dominating. So, HD, who do you think is the best coach in college football right now?
Well, right now, it's the guy who's won back-to-back national championships. And I also got to throw in, y'all remember 2017 when Kirby Smart and company had Alabama on the brinks before, Nick Saban had to make a quarterback change and Tua Tagovailoa threw that touchdown pass in overtime? I know if was a fifth, we'll all be drunk up here on this set right now. But that was an opportunity that, Kirby could have beat, Nick Saban at that moment. But I look at some of the things last year. You look at the semifinals game against Ohio State, calling that timeout before the fake punt. Things like that stand out to me. Being able to, beat Alabama after you lost to them in the SEC championship the year before last. And then last year, trying to see if you could repeat and making sure all your guys are engaged. I think Kirby Smart has a bigger challenge in 2023. Because, guys walk around 17, 18, 19 years old, feeling themselves a little bit because they've won back-to-back national championships. But I think right now, it's only one team in my mind that can impede them from doing so again, and that's the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Well, listen, first of all, 2 points. One, when you say HD on this show, you got to specify because I was ready to jump right there. Listen.
That's my sister.
Nick Saban he's the GOAT. Nick Saban is the GOAT. Listen, if Kirby Smart wins 3 straight national titles in a row, after you pick me up off the floor, we can recontinue this conversation because Nick Saban has won 6 national titles at Alabama. 6! Including 3 since 2015. You know what they tell recruits when they walk through there? Hey, you come on, you play for us, and every recruit who's gone through here has won a national title. I mean, that is phenomenal. So, yes, Georgia is the king of college football right now. Kirby Smart has done a remarkable job, but to me, when you ask who's the best coach in college football, it is about longevity. And Nick Saban has that in his back pocket. Kirby Smart's not there yet. That doesn't mean he can't get it. But right now, he doesn't have it.
Yeah, probably a different conversation if they win 3 straight this year. But I'm somewhere in the middle between HD and the lovely HD. But I think it's the conversation of greatness over dominance. Yeah. And nobody knows that better than Kirby Smart, who over a decade got to see how Nick Saban was able to build sustained winning at Alabama, 7 national championships over the course of his coaching career, and what he was able to do getting to the BCS national championship or CFP with 7 different offensive coordinators and 8 quarterbacks. That's the way to do it over the long stretch. They still dominate the recruiting game. The last 2 classes, like the 2 of the best classes in the last 3 years, Alabama in 2021 and Alabama in 2023 with 9 5-star commits. Kirby Smart will eventually get there, but you don't just yank the crown off of the king of college football in a 36-month stretch. It doesn't change that quickly. Eventually, if Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs can continue on this trajectory, win 3 straight, go into unprecedented territory, then it's a conversation that, carries a little bit more weight and validity. But until Nick Saban ends up saying, I'm done with college football, I'm going to head off into the sunset, I'm going to retire on top, I don't feel like that crown has shifted heads just yet.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.